Today's topic is
Spider-Man Homecoming.
If young Metro don't trust you, I'm gonna shoot you. Beautiful morning, you're the sun of my morning, babe. Nothing in the morning.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
What did you think?
It was great.
We heard that the Dreamland Theater was going to be having an early premiere of the movie, and we decided we had to see it before anyone else. We came all the way over to Nantucket just to see it, and I've got to say, it was worth it.
I even saw it twice once it came out, and it was even better the second time because I can just watch it and enjoy it rather than breaking down everything to see what I thought was great and what I thought could have improved. And there was not a lot that they could have improved, I thought. What did you think about the Vulture, played by Michael Keaton, who I thought did an amazing job?
He's incredible. I mean, the guy is got to be one of the best actors that's out there.
His acting performance and the script and the direction of the movie was able to turn one of the worst characters from the comics into an extremely interesting villain. Tom Holland was spectacular in this movie.
He was amazing.
Much better than the Amazing Spider-Man played by Andrew Garfield. I think his performance may be better than Tobey Maguire, who I thought did an excellent job in Spider-Man 1 and 2, although Spider-Man 3 kind of ruined his reputation. I think Tom Holland is definitely up there for best Spider-Man, and with a solid sequel, I think he will definitely be known as the best Spider-Man.
I mean, really, he gave one of the best interpretations of a Marvel character that I think we've seen. And, you know, when you think about him, Chris Hemsworth, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, you know, the people that have really produced quality characters in this universe are the ones where what they're doing really relates to how the character was developed in the comics. And I feel like Tom Holland really nailed it. When we think about Spider-Man, we think about somebody who's got a lot of humor, but also kind of has some emotional issues too, relating to the death of his parents and being raised by his Aunt May. And I feel like Tom Holland's emotional range, he was both able to be really funny and also at times deliver emotions without having to use a lot of words. His, facial expressions, and I was very impressed.
I was pleasantly surprised by this movie and pleasantly surprised by Tom Holland. I especially thought Tom Holland's first scene where they incorporated part of Civil War that was kind of a behind-the-scenes look at Civil War was extremely interesting and very funny. This was a much lighter tone. They didn't focus on the death of Uncle Ben. In fact, it has already happened in the past. He's not really focused on it. Do you think that was able to give them more freedom, that they didn't have to do another
origin story?
Right,
yeah. They basically just completely skipped the origin story.
I thought that freed them up to do something very interesting.
All right, so how would you rate it?
I think that on the blueberry scale, Spider-Man Homecoming will get 95 blueberries. It was an excellent film. I think that definitely top 3 film in the MCU. The 5 blueberries that I thought that could have been better is if they gave the movie a little more stakes, which I understand they played it a little safe, which I understand why they were trying to do that since the last reboot of Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man and The Amazing Spider-Man 2 were really bad. They wanted to play it safe to make sure that they didn't do anything rash that they would regret, like killing off Emma Stone's character in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. But if they had given the movie a little more stakes, then I think this movie could have gotten a 100 on the
What kind of steak do you think they should have given the movie?
I thought that they just...
Like a T-bone, or...
I feel like it was very light-hearted, and that's because Tom Holland plays Spider-Man that's only a sophomore, but it didn't seem like there were any consequences because nobody, like Iron Man said, nobody did die or nobody was seriously hurt by his mistake.
Well, what about the Scorpion?
That realistically...
Scorpion was seriously hurt.
Oh, he's fine. But I think that the thing is that they played it safe, which is smart, but if they had just raised the stakes and raised the consequences of Spider-Man's actions a little bit more, that could have made this movie perfect. What do you think?
On the Bitsy scale, I'm giving it 9 pit bulls. And my reasoning is pretty similar to yours. I think we've already pretty much covered what makes the movie so amazing. And what I would have liked to have seen is more mashed potatoes with the steak. So, you know, in this tension between the totalitarian, authoritarian control, which is represented by Tony Stark, and the freedom, but somewhat of the chaos that comes with freedom, which is kind of the Captain America side. I think we see that in this movie, in that the Vulture, you know, how does he get started? He gets started because damage control comes in, takes over the site. He's got all this money invested. You know, they create damage control so that they will have this one entity that's in charge of everything, and they're kind of eliminating, you know, stepping on the small guy, and the resentment that comes about as you know, from that. But I feel like there was really, you know, the Vulture is the only person that's really representing the idea of freedom and liberty
Now,
in the movie.
here's a quick question: how many of these Marvel movies or how many of these Marvel villains, I should say, have been created due to Tony Stark's failures, or because of Tony Stark and what he has done? Like the Iron Man villains, obviously.
Right.
Then
right.
you have
Right.
Ultron. You
Yep.
have the Vulture.
Yep.
And I think that could be it. Although you could argue Civil War is
Well,
also.
what about Baron Zemo? Or, you know, do you think he? I mean, I guess he was more the Winter Soldier, but kind of Tony Stark played a role in that, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you think about the decision to not have this spider sense?
I was a little bit disappointed, and I think that is another reason. I forgot to mention it earlier, but another reason that this movie didn't get 100 blueberries for me, which is that one of the most important powers for Spider-Man is his spider sense.
That's true. That's true.
I thought that they did a good job of incorporating his powers, and he was still kind of learning. And I really liked how, unlike previous Spider-Man films, they had web shooters instead of him shooting them out of his hands, which came up with some really interesting different types of, or different ways of him shooting webs,
Right.
which
right.
you couldn't do in the other
Those are some
films.
good moments in the movies.
Yeah, but I think that that was something that I liked, but them not including spider sense, which I thought could have come in handy, definitely, as the Vulture and other people snuck up behind him many times without him noticing.
Yeah. I
And-
think, you know, there's really got to be a good reason for them to make a change from the
Comics.
you know,
Maybe-
because the characters, they've been developed over, you know, decades, and the reason that they are still around is because the way that they're developed, it works.
Yeah.
And, you know, when they start eliminating parts, I feel like, you know, sometimes it can be okay, but when they're kind of eliminating these fundamental aspects of the character without any good reason, it's like, why? You know, I don't know if maybe, I mean, do you think the reason that they didn't have the Spidey sense is that they felt like they wanted him to sustain damage, they wanted him to be vulnerable, and that with it, you know, it would be too hard to hit him?
That's definitely possible. I think another possible explanation is that he's still very young. He's only 15. He could still be developing his powers. Now, what I did think was interesting is that the director, after the film, was quoted saying that he did have spider sense in the film. But I don't really understand that, because from watching it twice, he obviously did not have spider sense. I don't know why you would say that. That was just a little bit confusing to me. But again, spider
If he had
sense.
spider sense, that's like the worst spider sense in the world. That's like me not putting my foot in my mouth sense. I might have it, but it's not functioning.
But all in all, the movie was very great. It had some very minor flaws, but it's definitely a must-see.
Yeah, absolutely. Must see. And I would say if you can see it in IMAX, do it. Have you seen the movie?
If so, leave your thoughts down in the comment section below.
Make sure to like and subscribe.
And turn our notifications on so you never miss a video.
You wouldn't want to miss the two of us.
DAX out!
If young Metro don't trust you, I'm gonna shoot. Beautiful morning, yeah, the sun.